SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man E. How are you doing today?
Hey, that's me, and I'm doing all right, Bob. Hopefully everybody else out there in the SimWorld world is enjoying their weekend.
Absolutely, I hope so, too. This is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E, I'm the Fat Man. This is the podcast where we talk about whatever we want. This week, we're going to go... Last week, I did a little solo run with my SimWorld.
Yes,
all SimWorld. Hold on. SimWorld, all SimWorld, World, BT, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
we're doing our 18. We're doing our A team this week.
I couldn't be part of last week's show because I don't have a B team. I got an A team, and that's it. I don't want no second fiddle, second line players. No, I'm not into that.
Well, E, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably... Actually, I don't even want to assume because we might have two completely different teams. I can name probably two players that I know for sure will have the same, but outside of that, I don't know.
Got to be some overlap, right? Got to be some overlap. But look, there's 5 spots on these teams, yeah? And maybe remind the folks out there, what rules are we playing by for roster construction? Like, we can't just have 5 bigs, right? Like,
no. So we have 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a big... However, there are obviously some players out there that we know just because they're listed as a forward doesn't mean they're only playing forward. There are some players that can
the MVP, like the MVP who can do whatever he wants, play 5 positions, for instance. That guy. You're talking about that guy.
You know about Ben Simmons?
I won't say who that is.
Ben Simmons all time.
He's on both. Hey, let's not open up that can of worms. I can't have a Ben Simmons mini conversation in the middle of the A team.
Well, let's go ahead, E. Let's jump right into it then. How about you give me who are your starting guards for the A team?
So for my A team, SimWorld all season guards. So by our rules, and I'm glad that we laid the rules out there, I could have picked 2 guys who are 2 obvious shooting guards or something like that or whatever, or 2 points. But actually, my A team, not entirely through planning. I mean, these are my 5 guys anyway, but they actually, I think, really do fit nicely into a point 2 guard, small forward, power, big kind of configuration. I actually really love my team. I would love to see them kill people. I could roll them out on the court. But my 2 guards, my first guard, my shooting guard, my scoring guard, this is one I think might be on both of our lists, Japhett Towns. He has been absolutely electric all year long. I mean, I think that people came into this season with huge expectations for him. And I think he's lived up to it. And I think he's dragged his team along with him, too. And like I said, I will be a little bit surprised if Japhett isn't on your A-team, too, because he should be on everybody's A-team. That's all I got to say about Japhett. Do I really need to talk that much more about him? No, you know who he is. You know what he does. You know his reputation. You've seen him play 100 times. And I'm talking to you, SimWorld Universe. But my other guard, who is going to be my point guard for whatever it's worth, may not make everybody's list, but I just have to put Vincent Magic on there. I know that H-Town hasn't been great this year, maybe. Certainly not as good as some people had expectations of them being. And I don't feel like Vincent Magic has stolen a whole lot of highlights. And that's really unfortunate because he may be... I can't think of anybody else. He may be the best pure point that we've ever had in the 3 years. And I know it's just 3 years, but the 3 years of a SimWorld prep game. Averaging I believe after his last contest, he's at 7.6, which is a full assist and a quarter ahead of anybody else. I mean, just a staggering number of dimes to drop in a league where you play 32-minute games. Never forget that. These guys are playing 32 minutes, not 40 minutes like college, not 48 like the pros. While he's not necessarily, the biggest offensive threat in terms of, creating for himself, scoring for himself, Vincent has just been, really kind of magical. To use the appropriate word when discussing Vincent Magic, as far as just keeping that basketball on a string and running the show out there. So I expect I might get some pushback for this, but you know what? I was thinking about it, and I don't care. Vincent Magic is on my team. Those are my guards, Magic and Towns. go ahead and tell the people you agree with me on Jaffet, and who's the other guard that you got, Bob? Because I'm willing to bet you have a different configuration here.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Jaffet Towns. I have him. I would have him as my starting shooting guard if I was making the all SimWorld A team. Jaffet Towns starting shooting guard. Period.
Yep.
Not a whole lot else to say about him. I mean, he kind of does it. He does a little bit of everything. He can hit the three. He can get to the basket. There's not much that you need to know about him. He contributes so much to that Reigning Trays team. He is that Reigning Trays team.
Yes.
If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be talking about them at all.
No.
I've
entirely
been
true.
Yeah, I've been pounding the table for Jason Crosser for 13 seasons now, and I just. But for me,
well, now that Jason's old enough to drink, maybe he'll come into form for you, Bob.
Well, for me, obviously, I don't agree with Vincent Magic being on the A team. I do think there's an argument that could be made for him to be on the B team, for sure. I do agree that he is probably right now the best pure point guard that we have this particular season. I don't know if I would choose him over the likes of Marco Jacobs, who I had on my B team, I believe, from last week. Let me double check.
Great season for Marco.
Yeah, Marco Jacobs, I had him in the B team. I can see the argument for Vincent there. For me, though, I'm gonna go a little bit of a different route as well. I am gonna go with the leading assist man on his particular squad. It's not a huge amount of assists, but somebody that I think can really play anywhere from the 1 to the 4, and I have Kayvon Jackson as my starting point guard for my all
dunk god. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing I like about this, my favorite thing about this, I just want to throw this out there, Bob, is it's a Jaffet and dunk god reunion that you just put together in your backcourt.
See how that would work out. But yeah, that
would work out.
For me, I think Kayvon Jackson is an underrated passer. Because he's a highlight machine, and all we do is talk about every single week. Oh, how many top 10 plays is Kayvon Jackson going to be on? Because he does it all there. So yeah, I think he's an underrated passer, but I would definitely, with the way that he has played this season, especially when he started the season, obviously there was a lot of mostly me stirring the pot between Jaffet and Kayvon Jackson, but I think Kayvon Jackson has shown that he can be a star on his own, and I think that he has played well enough to be on my SimWorld All-E team.
All right. Well, look, I mean, I didn't roll into the studio today to come here to criticize Kayvon Jackson, who's a fantastic player, who's had a fantastic year. And I get where you're going with him. And look, we're putting together an A team. We're not necessarily literally going to throw these guys out there and see how they compete against each other. The fact that we have some players on both of our teams would make that kind of difficult anyway. But, I will say that I just can't ignore. I mean, if you go look at the current leaderboard for, all players, how they're. Just the fact that Vincent's averaging 7.6 assists a game. The person behind him, Carson Cutbirth, 6.3. And then, nobody's within an assist, like it's all 5.6 and stuff like that below him, too. I mean, it's a few degrees above the norm, the level that we're seeing Vincent Magic do this year. And like I said, I knew that he probably wasn't going to be on your team. I also knew that not everybody's going to love it. I expect to receive some criticism for this, but I think that when you are such an outlier like Vincent Magic has been, you should be recognized for that. So no criticism, though, of your Kayvon Jackson pick. And in fact, why don't we just have you roll right into your 2 forwards, Bob? And once again, let me play my Nostradamus, Karnak. If you're an older person, maybe that reference would mean something. I will let you stare into your crystal ball. But I think that we're going to have one forward match and probably one difference. So why don't you roll those out, and let's see if my prophecy becomes truth.
I don't know. I think I'm not going to say I went completely out of left field on the one, but I do think that there could be some. I think there's going to be a little bit of a surprise, but not a huge surprise. But let me I do want to jump back real quick, though, because I don't want to undercut your Vincent Magic pick at all. He is the only player in SimWorld Prep history with multiple triple-doubles. He made SimWorld history, and I again, I can see a strong argument on that B team for sure. I mean, you can make the argument for the A team too, especially if you're looking at a pure point guard perspective. But anyway, I don't think it's a bad pick at all. But let me jump to let's go with the obvious choice. He could have been anywhere on this. He could have been anywhere on this starting lineup, from the 1 to the 5, all of them at the same time. Cooper Flag. There's no way anybody that leaves Cooper Flag or Jafet Towns off their list is purely someone who is just being spiteful. Cooper Flag does, Cooper Flag does absolutely everything.
MVP.
He does. He's a scorer. He gets a hoop. He can hit threes. He's not needed to be a 3-point shooter for this squad, but he is efficient from the three. He can dunk, pass, rebound. He does defense, everything. He does everything.
MVP, no argument in my opinion. And yeah, anybody that leaves him off, that's just somebody sour. That's somebody who woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's all.
For my second choice at forward, this would be my small forward. A lot of these guys, I think we could move around to a lot of different positions on the court, which is something that I think a lot of coaches covet. I really covet that. I have to go with newcomer Gulf Coast Lockdown's Kai Killens. I think he has played well enough for me that I would say that he is one of the... I know he's ranked composite number 11 in SimWorld Prep. He's a top 5 player, I think. Just what he can do on the court, what he has done for that Gulf Coast Lockdown team. Yeah. He is that team, and I didn't know what to expect coming into the season. He was good. I expected him to be more of just a defensive guy starting out this season. I didn't really expect him to be the leading scorer for this team. I believe he leads by 11 more points
20,
than any. Yeah, he's got 21.1 a game. But on his team, he's averaging 11 points more than anybody else, and he is a huge part of what they had been able to do this season. Nick Heach came in hot, ruffled a little bit of feathers, but I think that what Kai Killens has been able to do, he deserves SimWorld Prep, all SimWorld Prep A team for season 2 of SimWorld Prep.
Killens has definitely been great. He's a great athlete who can also shoot the ball. I mean, he's just your prototypical sort of, I could see him actually, he's listed as a forward. You're playing him as a forward, and that's appropriate. But I think, a young kid like him, he's just 16. He's got another year of SimWorld Prep coming up before he even hits college. I could see him, kind of being a big guard, like if he's not done growing yet, growing up into like a 6'7" kind of, shooting guard. And look, 54% from the field this year. I think that's almost as impressive, maybe more impressive than 21 a game that Kai's put up. And on a young player who's the leader of a very young Gulf Coast team, I do not criticize this pick that strongly. I got to say, definitely wouldn't have been my pick. I did, agonize over, I should say too, yes, of course, guess what? Cooper Flag also makes my team. But my other forward spot, look, there were more than a few candidates, deserving of consideration. I'll mention at least just one, another young gun, Almighty Soul. I mean, just had a great year, just 15 years old still, but how much promise does he have with his scoring potential? But in addition to the fact that I just thought that it wouldn't be right to put 2 H-Town Hoopers on my A-team list, there is somebody else out there that I again think isn't going to be on everybody's list, and I understand why, but I think he's had a great year. I think he does a lot of things well, including the defense. Great scorer, can shoot from range. He's kind of like a mini Cooper Flag to some degree, and can play sort of some different positions out there where you need him to too. And that's D'Angelo Jordan. I have D'Angelo Jordan as the other member of my A team, and if you look kind of at him statistically this year, he's a little bit below 50% with his shooting, but he is kind of the offensive focus, really, certainly the interior focus for Lakeshore Drive that doesn't have a whole lot of other scorers in the paint. I mean, Harry Holtzclaw and whatever are good defenders, good rebounders, but that's just not really what they do. But again, it's that position flexibility and the upside and the fact that, yeah, again, with kind of like Flagg and Jordan out there on this team, I think that, right, you have potentially, those guys can play the two. As well as the 3-4 spots, and in a pinch can even kind of go over and cover the 5, being 2 6'9" guys. I just love the advanced skill set that D'Angelo has for a player his size. Lakeshore's had a decent year, and it's really been D'Angelo and Norman Nations that have been the driving forces behind that. And once again, another player a little bit like Vincent Magic, who I don't know if every last, media accolade has come their way this year, and maybe that's fine. But I'm giving him his props right now. Definitely on my A team. D'Angelo Jordan, just kind of unicorn talented. Although, let's be honest, SimWorld Prep has kind of been a league of unicorns this year. We've already talked about a couple of them.
Yeah, I can't really. I cannot argue with the D'Angelo Jordan pick. Yeah, there's a ton of unicorns in SimWorld Prep. There's always a ton of unicorns in SimWorld Prep, it seems.
Stampede of them. Yeah. Unicorn stampede.
Absolutely. I mean, D'Angelo Jordan, he made my B team last week, so I can't really argue about him being on the A team either. I think you can make an argument for him over Kai Killens. I think you can make an argument over Cooper Flagg at point guard and Kai Killens at small forward and D'Angelo Jordan starting at power. I mean, I just say there's so many different things that you can really do because of how many different positions some of these guys play. But
position flexibility of a guy like Jordan or Flagg is ridiculous. Agreed. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, D'Angelo Jordan himself, I mean, he is, we will preface this with Lakeshore Drive has obviously gone through a lot of struggles here at the end of the season. For a while there, they were, if we were going to do a Mount Rushmore of season 2 of SimWorld Prep about a month and a half ago, people would probably be arguing between Lakeshore Drive and Cascadia being on there, and we could potentially have a fourth. The Mount Rushmore of season 2 would be all Founders Regions teams.
Right.
But they have absolutely fallen apart, but that does not diminish the talent that D'Angelo Jordan has and what he has meant to this team. So, yeah, I cannot. He is just at 6'9", he can shoot threes. He can get to the. He's so athletic. He is going to be an absolute menace at the next level. When he goes to SimWorld U, when he gets to SWBA, all of that, he's going to be an absolute menace with whatever he does in the future. But yeah, I can't argue. I'm not going to argue or say that was a bad pick because D'Angelo Jordan is a great pick. He is the composite number 3 player in SimWorld Prep, so it's kind of hard to leave him off the list.
I agree. I mean, Rick Blaze and I like to throw comps out there sometimes. And for me, D'Angelo, I'm not sure if he is quite a high-level athlete. Not to say he is not an athlete, because he is. But sometimes he gives me kind of shades of young Chris Webber. Like high school and University of Michigan Chris Webber days. Just kind of like that skill set and that kind of athleticism poured somehow into a human being who is that size. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But we got one more to talk about, Bob. We got one more spot. I'm not sure that we both haven't picked the same player here for this one. I felt confident we both have Flagg. I felt confident we both have Jaffet. Not sure if we're going to be matching here or not. You want me to go first? Do you want to go? I don't know. Should we count down to 3? Be like 3, 2, 1, and just both say?
Well, I think there's 2 choices here, and I have a feeling that I don't know. You kind of think the same way I do. You're either going to go with the obvious choice, or you're going to go with the not so obvious but still kind of an obvious choice. So let's do that. We'll do that. So count down to 3 and on. It'll be 1, 2, 3 player.
Okay, ready?
All right.
1. Do the countdown too.
Yep.
1, 2.
3.
3.
Josiah Andrei Ivanov.
I had to go Josiah Cook.
Yeah.
Once again, talk about a guy who can kind of do anything on a basketball court in a ridiculous size, who's also 15 years old. On this broadcast, just typing and posting on Discord, I have been flying the Josiah Cook flag all year long, basically. And For a guy who's not even quite averaging 10 points a game, I think he's a legit MVP candidate. In fact, I think in any other year where Cooper Flagg maybe wasn't around, I might be actually out there campaigning for Cook to get an MVP right now. I'm not sure he shouldn't be the defensive player of the year. I mean, leading rebounder, 3.6 blocks per game, leads his teams in steals by a mile, almost averages a steal a game. I'm in love with this kid, Josiah Cook. I think he has the biggest ceiling, the brightest future maybe of anybody we've had come through here yet, including the likes of Jamison Johnson and Cooper Flagg. It's just unbelievable what he can do out there. And let's not forget that the Yacht Club has been a competitive, decent team. I mean, 17-12, that's a good record coming up on your 30th game of the year in a competitive Southern region. I mean, look, your pick's fine too. The 7 foot, is he 7'2" now? I don't know what he's listed at this point, but he's monstrous out there. He's a monster.
Yeah,
That's
he's
the point.
7'2", 250.
Yeah, and he's
230.
Really,
sorry, 230.
230. Well, that's probably a little light at this point too. He's probably measured 9 months ago. But anyway, the point of it being that look, he's brought Europe to the brink of race to one contention. People are talking like, is Europe really a serious contender for this? And guess what? Maybe they are, and it's thanks to him. But maybe the Yacht Club is too. And I know that the rise of Darius McBride has been an important part of the Yacht Club's late season success. But the anchor, the main man, is that DPOY MVP candidate, and I can't keep him off my A team. I can't keep him off any more than I keep Cooper or Jaffet off, to be honest. I didn't have to think too hard about this one. Josiah Cook was my man in the paint.
Yeah, Josiah Cook was my all B team. Pretty clear cut that he was going to be on that one or the A team. There was no way he was not going to be on either of them. Yeah. So I can't argue against the pick. He's done a little bit of everything this season, but he's definitely up there in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like it is not as clear cut this year as it may have been last season in season one as Defensive Player of the Year. Last year, we had a handful of players that we were talking about. Yeah, we had the Trey Hymans, the Victoria Solgauskises. This season, you can go down the list. And also Gabe Pope last season. We could throw that name in there, but there wasn't as many as you would have liked. It just when you think of parity, like you hate going into this is over. Like we already know it's between these three guys. That's how the NBA or the SWBA MVP is every single season. Is it going to be Nikolai or Embiid? Who's going to win it? We know it's going to be one of those two, and then you're over it. Last season with SimWorld Prep again, there was the parity was there. You had JoJo Kearney wasn't really talked about until the race to one in season one happened. But like this year, you have your JoJo Kearneys, your Kai Killings, you have Orland Mock, you have all these guys who could make a real argument for the Defensive Player of the Year. But Josiah Cook probably is leading that pack right now. But you can't go wrong with any of those choices. Anyways,
no.
Different award that we're talking about right now. Yeah,
different award.
For me,
and look, go ahead, Bob.
For what Ivanov has meant to SimWorld Europe, they have not had they've been up and down all season. Just like a lot of, I say the majority of the teams, you've either been a Middle East, always at the bottom. A SimWorld Europe kind of moving up and down a little bit in the top 15, top 20, or you've been a East Philadelphia Originators and Cascadia that you've always just been at the top. Europe is one of those teams that I think has a chance to make a splash in the run to one, which is something that is being rebranded as this season. I think that Ivanov is going to play a key part in that, but it's obviously going to matter who steps up around him. Is Zodorn going to step up around him? Is Ty Merker going to step up around him in the race or in the run to one? Anyways, I would go with Ivanov as my A team. Josiah Cook, if he's not on everybody's A or B team, he's one of those ones where I think something's a little wrong there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
All right.
Well, we got. I like today's show, Bob, because we got a little bit of difference of opinion on who we got there, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'm not here to tear down any of your picks, and neither are you with mine. Neither of us threw, I don't know, Jameer Somerville or somebody onto the team. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Jason
all good.
Crosser. Jason
There we
Crosser.
go, Jason Crosser. Good
Well,
stuff.
all I know is my team would destroy your team. But anyways, E. So, E, I appreciate you as always. Do you have any final words for the people?
Yeah, people, it's just around the corner. Most exciting time of the year, so get ready for that. Prep's about to explode. We're going to get our champion coming up here soon, and let's see if the players we haven't thrown on our A to B teams here, well, Bob's B anyway, don't end up being deciding factors when we get down to that championship game. That's
Absolutely.
why we play them, so you can find out.
Absolutely. Well, E, I appreciate you as always, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday.
Later, folks.